one of India's most established photographers who shot across categories like advertising and automobiles to food photography and portraits. Famed for his exhibitions based on his travels and his theme-based calendars for ICC and Incredible India, Ritam is also globally represented by Getty Images. Here we go in for a design dialogue with Ritam Banerjee.
Well, I wanted to become a photographer because from childhood I had been seeing my father doing photography. I mean, he used to do it as as a hobby. He was a serious hobbyist. So I used to see those expensive cameras lying with him. I used to wish that someday maybe I will have one of those cameras of my own. So that must have been the triggering, in the subconscious mind of mine. And then one day I decided to take a plunge and. Being from a humble middle class background and like during my time, though it's not from Jurassic age though, but still it was like photography was not perceived as a profession which would get you a livelihood so easily. If it clicks, it clicks. If it doesn't click, it doesn't click. So what happens if it doesn't click? So being parents that they are, people always wanted their kids to have a stable, secure job and whatever. So photography was not one of those options at that point of time. So then it so happened that I took up physics, just to keep everybody, especially my parents, neighbors happy, because they were more concerned, beta engineer banega, doctor banega, ya kuch bhi nahi banega. So physics was basically one middle path I took just to keep them happy. Okay, and I pursued photography. My father always used to say that if you want something, you have to earn it. So when we were kids, we had to earn it through marks. अच्छा marks लाया तो ये मिलेगा, cycle मिलेगा, and so on and so forth. So my first camera came when I scored really decently, which is still a university record, 97% in my first year. So that was basically when I got my first camera. In the meantime, I used to beg, borrow, steal cameras from friends, and those days we used to have the film rolls. So it was pretty expensive to process them and buy them and all of that. So we didn't have that kind of money. We had a little pocket money here and there. So we had to manage with that. So eventually I got a camera, started taking pictures, and I started shooting for Times of India. I was lucky that people in Times of India gave me a chance to start shooting, which was in Pune. I was from Ferguson College. So that's how it started, and then I graduated to working for a magazine called Better Photography, which picked me up from my campus. And then I realized one day that desk job is not my thing. I had to get out and take more pictures, and I quit my job and I started becoming a photographer full time. And as luck would have it, I have managed to still take pictures and live a decent life. Well, initially it was beggars can't be choosers. Whatever came my way, I had to do it well. With time, the only thing that happened was the vocabulary improved. So instead of beggars can't be choosers, people started calling me versatile. It's the same thing. so the story remains that whatever you do it well, and things just fall into place. So I luckily got a chance to dabble in almost from ketchups to cars. I have shot them everything in between, like from fashion to advertising to editorial to interior architecture to industrial to automobiles to food, and I've just been lucky and everybody's been just kind. So just things started coming in and I just get bored of doing the same thing over and over again. So if I get a variety of things to do, it's more fun, is it not? And mostly people used to say that it is very difficult to have this kind of a portfolio, or you should not do something like this because it's the age of being super specialized. I said, why not specialize in taking good pictures rather than talking about specializing in fashion photography and so on and so forth. So I just thought of doing just that, and I still do that, and luckily it gives me a wider canvas to play with. Awesome! Everybody is becoming a photographer, which is a great thing to do, because when I started out and when I said I wanted to become a photographer, my family and friends said, photographer banega, what will you do? Passport ka dukan lagayega? And it was not it was very looked down upon, rather than it was giving, because very few people could become the likes of let's say Gautam Rajadhyaksh or and Ashok Salian at that time. It was very difficult to reach the pinnacle. So when I decided to take up this, people were skeptical. But today, photography is the in thing. It's so hip and so glamorous, and oh, I'm a photographer. So it's fun, is it not? So which basically, because the medium has become easy and accessible to most people, people have started liking it all the more. Because when it was earlier, it was difficult to understand. It looked like a very difficult thing to do. Now it's an easy thing, so it's a fun thing to do. So it has been accepted more. Things that are easily understandable are accepted much more. So it's simple to be difficult, difficult to be simple. So photography has become very simple now, and which is why it has become more popular, and which has helped us to present ourselves as photographers much better than it was before. And I see there is no competition, because if you are good at your job, you will find a way. Like, for example, the biggest example is Sachin Tendulkar. We have all in our lifetime as Indians have played cricket, but how many of us have become Sachin? So it doesn't matter who takes pictures. If you are good, you will get there. First thing, when people obviously ask about, people are skeptical about the lighting setup and studio and all that. That is something which scares most of the people most of the time, I find. But I believe in the concept of common sense lighting. If I talk about Rembrandt lighting, butterfly lighting, and this and that, you tend to give big jargons to people and scare them away. But if you tell them, just be a good observer, look what is around, see where the light is coming from, and you just replicate it in your studio, you will get the same feel which you would get otherwise in a real life setting. So that's exactly what I do when I work on setting up artificial lights within a studio setup. I do not do anything beyond that. And to do that, what I always also keep in mind are two things. One is, what is the purpose of doing it, and what feel it is going to create. Like, for example, am I doing it to create an idea, or am I doing it to sell a product? Am I doing it to sell a lifestyle? Am I doing it to just satisfy my artistic interests? What is the purpose of doing this, and what is the feel that I would like the audience to have or experience when they see this work? I mean, do I want them to be happy? Do I want them to aspire to have something like this with them, or do I want them to feel concerned about a social cause? So what is the idea and what is the purpose? These are the two things that I always look for before I take a picture. While I work on a picture. I don't mind, but I don't feel the need for it, because with technology, it makes life easier. Why do you want to complicate it? Yeah, for the pleasure of it, just for fun, you want to go back to your good old days and just to have a recap of what you used to do earlier. Yes, it's once in a while, it's fine, but when technology is helping you to make things easier and your efficiency is increasing, why do you want to invest more time in just hanging into something which is not so easily available or accessible as it used to be earlier? So not that I'm against films, but I don't have access to it as easily as I used to, so I'm happy with what it is. I look for the way they have approached a subject. It's everybody has their experiences, their ideas, and their opinions about certain things. So even if I have two photographers, including myself, shooting the same subject, we would approach it very differently because of the background and the experience and the expertise that we have come with. So it is not the camera, it is the eye behind the camera which takes the picture, and that is what I strive to look for in the work that other people do. And that inspires me and helps me. It doesn't matter who is big or small. It never matters. It is what is good or better. That's what I look for. Camera. I already mentioned, it is not the camera that takes the picture, it's the eye behind the camera that does. You come up with an idea, you gather the resources and shoot. So it also depends on the purpose, the usage. I mean, what is the usage of the picture that you're shooting? Is it for an Instagram or is it for a billboard? So if it's for an Instagram, how does it matter what camera you're using? Okay? So it's all very relative. These are not things that should scare people away. Yeah, I do not have this equipment, what can I do? Today it is not the equipment, it is just the idea which takes you forward. You may not have the resources, but if you have the idea which is strong enough, you will get the resources. I love a movie called The Three Idiots because one of the characters, which was of Madhavan, quite like mine, because I had my joint entrance, which is the medical engineering exam. The night before that, we were having dinner together, my family, my father, my mom, and my sister, and myself. And that night, we had a Mahabharat at home, because I said, I'm not going for the exams tomorrow, because if I clear it, I might end up becoming an engineer, which I don't want to become. So, from that movie, Three Idiots, I realized that काबिल बनो, कामयाबी झक मारा के पीछे आएगी. So if you work towards your skill sets and you develop and work on them and keep it going, the rest follows. Money, success, whatever, that you cannot calculate, and that is very relative. What might be success for you may not be success for someone else. So those are parameters which you cannot calculate, but what you can calculate, what you can work towards, is what you do, and do it better than anybody else did. Do it better yourself every single day of your life in whatever way you can, and that's about it. The rest will follow. Banana Bandy rocks. It's a wonderful platform for young and old who are just creative or just love to be mad. This is the place to be. Have fun. Banana Bandy has been kind enough to have me in the jury of the design mela that they are organizing shortly. I feel very, very lucky, and I look forward to seeing awesome creative stuff coming my way, which will inspire me and maybe help me to dream for bigger and better things in the future for Indian design, art and creativity.